Dick and I have just watched Rebel Without a Cause, and it is a very worthy film. For anybody who has never seen it, try it. For anybody who has seen it, try it again. Watch it with new eyes. Here's some of the reasons why.
Rebel Without a Cause is a 1955 film starring James Dean, Natalie Wood, and Sal Mineo.
Exactly. Directed by Nicholas Ray. Nicholas Ray had done many films, but I think this is perhaps his most iconic.
Supporting cast in Rebel Without a Cause include making his screen debut in the film was Dennis Hopper. And Jim Backus played Jim Stark's father. You may recall, some of you, that he did the voice behind Mr. Magoo.
Well, I know him more, and forever will think of Jim Backus as Thurston Howell III from Gilligan's Island. But that's my relationship to Jim Backus.
And also Ed Platt plays the juvenile hall detention detective. And you may recall he had a recurring role as the chief on Get Smart television series.
Yeah, and in this movie, he's a supporting actor, but he plays an important role, and I think that's relevant. I'm not going to do any giveaways here. Rebel Without a Cause is essentially a story of three teens that, over the span of essentially a 24-hour time frame, have they've got to run from some bad guys, some other real sure-enough gang members in their school. They're also on the run because of this chicken race that happens, and they go to it, and some kid dies, and everybody at the police department's looking for who was around that night. So our three heroes have to be, they think they're in trouble, and they want to run away from their parents anyway because they've got all this teenage angst. And yet they also think they're going to be killed by these bad guys who don't want them to snitch on them. It's a classic sort of, for the 50s, young kids rebelling against their parental authority and in some cases their parental lack of authority. But it made a big voice to the viewership in those days when it first came out.
One of the memorable lines from the film that I recall vividly, that Jim Stark, the character played by James Dean, when he was having his confrontation with his parents, he said, "You're tearing me apart!"
Well, and indeed, all of these kids have their own angst going on. And these three leads are now in film history for a really important sort of tragedy that they share. They all three died tragically. Dean, Mineo, and Wood.
James Dean was 24 years old. He was on his way to a race in Northern California and was killed in a tragic car accident. He only made 3 films. His first was East of Eden. Second was Rebel Without a Cause. And the third, Giant. Rebel Without a Cause was released after his death as well as Giant.
Giant came out in 56.
Giant.
Rebel in 55. If I'm not mistaken.
East of Eden, 55.
55, right. Now, what I was saying about what they share in this film history is Natalie Wood died tragically on a boat off the coast of California. Sal Mineo was murdered. That was many years later. But of these great, thriving stars, none of them really lived to see their careers go to what they could have possibly become due to these 3 tragic deaths.
The film was nominated for several Oscars, including a Best Supporting Role for Natalie Wood and Best Supporting Role for Sal Mineo. Natalie Wood went on to have 2 more Academy Award nominations for Supporting Role. One was for Love with a Proper Stranger, and the other was for Splendor in the Grass. And Sal Mineo had another nomination for Best Supporting Role in the film Exodus.
I will say Rebel did not win any Academies that year. It did have one other nomination, Nicholas Ray, not for directing, but I think because he helped co-write the screenplay, or at least he generated the story. So he got nominated in that category somewhere along.
Talking about Oscars, James Dean is the only actor to be nominated for 2 Academy Awards for a lead role posthumously. He was nominated for East of Eden and Giant.
Of his 3 films, he got nominated for those.
For lead actor.
Okay, that's amazing.
That is.
For again, my knowledge of James Dean is he's the great young actor who died so young, and I guess I didn't remember that he had gotten those nominations just on the basis of his first 3 films, only 3 films, 2 nominations. That's amazing. Also, if Rebel Without a Cause is to be seen in today's eyes, just understand that in the 1950s, the kinds of mischief that were being deemed really horrible by today's standards seems pretty tame. These were young kids that were rebelling in certain ways, but by no means does it hold a candle to what kids do nowadays.
Well, it was quite an impact on my life. My buddies and I, when we saw the film, he was my teen idol, and I started smoking. In fact, my buddy started smoking because James Dean looked so cool in that red jacket smoking the cigarette.
Which is the iconic poster for Rebel Without a Cause. James Dean, t-shirt, leather jacket. And I would recommend this movie. If you've never seen it, go for it. If you've seen it before, watch it again with some thought to what the lines are saying about these children, if you will. They really are just children, trying to find their own way in the world. Rebel Without a Cause. Good work. I will talk to you soon, Dick.
See you later, George.